Your name came up on Whiskey and Wine Saturday night. I don't know if you heard about it.
Yeah, I did. You know, I don't deny anything. Some of that was probably embellished a little bit, but
Yeah, when the Moscona parts.
You want me to fight? You want me to fight this dude, Coach? I'll take him out.
T-Bob, I'm glad you weren't there.
Yes.
I feel like you.
I would never. I would never. I would never. As long as I can come hang out with you in New Orleans, because every time I see you in New Orleans, you're at some great bar with a pretty girl drinking great drinks. I mean, he's the man.
Easy now.
I can't believe
he said he liked you 30 seconds ago. You're going to make the man not like you. It's the king of New Orleans we're talking to. Coach, what have you made of Trendon Watford?
Yeah. What now?
What do you? What do you make of? What have you made of Trendon Watford through 4 games?
Well, you know, actually, he's probably been our most consistent player. I mean, you look at his stat line and what he's done and how he shot it and what he's been able to accomplish. The only thing about him on a thing that he needs to improve on a line is maybe his turnovers. But I think as a freshman, handling the ball like he does, he's turned it over sometimes what I call carelessly or needlessly. But he's going to get better at that as he gets more experience. But he's a talented player. He's crafty around the goal. He can make the three. Very good shooter. Play makes, passes it. He's a very good SEC player and will get better as the year goes along. And like I said before, I really think he's probably been our most consistent player over the first 4 games.
T-Bob brought up a stat about the turnovers early on where LSU ranked.
They were going into this game, Coach. So there were 350 teams in college basketball, and LSU was ranked 349 in turnovers going into this one, which is wild. They're still averaging like almost 80 a game, but
it's crazy. And, you know, you take the 2 games before last night. That team last night wasn't programmed to turn us over. They just weren't good enough. But the previous 2 games, you know, we've given up 56 points off our turnovers.
Wow.
And 26 and 25 turnovers. That's 51 times we don't shoot the ball at the basket. Damn. And we're shooting 50% from the floor. So just that alone, we're an undefeated team going into Jamaica. But, you know, these are things that we're going to learn how to play offense without Tremont Waters. You know, we relied on him to do a lot of things against the press. He was one of those uncanny guys who could also score but also set up people for better shots too by dribble penetration. Tremont Waters was always overlooked as a tremendous passer. You know, I thought he was a great scorer at times, but he really was an excellent passer. And I think maybe Javonte Smart is going to have to probably at some times maybe not to look to score it as much. He needs to score, but not his first option. Maybe need to try to get other people involved, not look at the goal as much, and try to be a facilitator more so than a scorer first.
What's the message from a coach to his team when they're battling turnovers? How do you coach against that?
Well, I just think it's something you have to work on every single day. You know, it's like we talked about it. He needs to close down the passing lanes, get better passing angles, meet the pass, throw the ball to the outside of the defender. And I think some of the times in the full court, most of the times we don't turn the ball over much. It's when we cross the half court, and I think sometimes our team, we do good things offensively, we get ball movement and player movement, and then we come stagnant a little bit when we try to dribble it too much and create shots as opposed to letting the offense and ball movement and player movement create open shots for individual players. So I think we need to probably move the ball better, couple that with more ball movement, player movement, good cutting, good spacing, neat passes, and just concentrate on it more. And I think it's an adjustment for this team to learn how to play without Tremont. And I think Skylar may have to handle the ball a little bit more. As you noticed, Watford had brought the ball up last night, and I think it's 6'8" or so with the skill level he has. That may be a good option for us because the player guarding him on the other team could be a mismatch and allows us to get the ball up the floor a little bit more cleaner than having one of our guards bring it up.
Did you like Bishop? James Bishop looks like a guy that can help you as far as ball handling.
Well, he is, and I thought it was a great game for him last night. I told Will this after the game. You know, it was good for him to hit some shots and get some confidence. You know, at VCU, the speed of that game and the crowd and all, he didn't perform very well, but he hadn't had a chance to really play through some mistakes. And I think Coach Wade did a nice thing yesterday, playing a lot of guys who hadn't had the opportunity to experience game-like competition. And what I think Bishop did last night when he came in the game, sometimes freshmen, they get in the game early, they want to look to shoot it because that's what they've done all their careers. You know, they're a scorer. But I think last night he came in the game and let it come to him. He didn't try to force things. He made a couple of shots, and you could tell during the course of the game his confidence got a lot better because he settled down and let the game come to him as a trying to force a situation that may not be there.
Talking to former LSU head men's basketball coach John Brady. Now catch him on the call on Eagle 98.1 for all your LSU basketball games. Coach Jordy earlier in the show mentioned the depth of this LSU team. We're now a few years into this Will Wade tenure. What's your opinion on the depth? It feels like they have 9, maybe 10 guys they're comfortable playing.
Well, I think they're comfortable playing them, but, you know, to compete at the level they want to compete at, I think depth is an issue. But that's why it was good last night for guys like Cooper and Hyatt to get in the game and play a little bit in Bishop. And without Marlon Taylor playing right now, it sure has hurt the depth of this team. But, you know, that's why Skylar Mays and Javonte Smart, they're going to have to play extended minutes and play without fouling and play under control. And one of the things that I want to watch this team is, are we consistent? Can Javonte Smart and Skylar Mays and be the consistent type players that we need? You know, Javonte sometimes is really good and sometimes he's not as good as I think he needs to be for this team to be successful. Darius Days was 1 for 6 from the 3 against Nichols and 0 for 5 last night. Can he be consistent from the 3-point line? Because I think this team's going to need the 3-point line, and the last couple of games we haven't shot it real well from behind the arc, and so I think we need to shoot around a 35% percentage for this team to be successful offensively. So I'm looking for consistency in our perimeters. And I think extended minutes for really good players isn't a bad thing. But the foul trouble is what we're going to have to watch against. And Coach Wade did a nice thing again of playing those guys last night that needed some time to play for this team to get better. And also last night, I think our team's really good in the open floor and transition. And I think if we can turn the ball over and get it off the glass and really push it up the floor, I think this team is really good in the open court. And I think those are baskets that we're going to also need, too, as this season moves along and we play against better players.
Coach John Brady, the LSU Sports Radio Network, joining us here on Off the Bench, ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, and Alexandria. Coach, both teams, last year's SEC championship team, SEC champs, and this year's, both teams can score it, right? I mean, it seems like they can roll out of bed and get you 80, but they play different in a different style. Explain to our listeners maybe the difference between last year's offense and this year's offense. Even though they get to the same number, they're taking different routes.
Well, I think Coach Wade has coached it to the personnel. You know, last year, just the presence of Bigby Williams and Nas Reed on the floor attracted defenders, just them being out there, and opened up avenues for guys to drive the ball to the goal. And then Tremont Waters was so good. I mean, but you look back at last year's team, and we talked about this yesterday. You know, we won 4 games in overtime. We won every SEC game on the road in every way you could imagine. Every close game we were able to win it. You know, and I've always thought that the winning of close games makes for a successful season or a really significant season. And we had a significant season because our ability to win close games. But the approach of our offense this year is less ball screening at times and more ball movement and player movement, and maybe not passing the ball to the post as much and scoring with our back to the basket, although we do throw it to Emmett occasionally. I think the way to get it to the rim with this team I've seen is they drive the ball to the paint and penetrate and try to get fouled and get to the foul line and complete plays around the goal, as opposed to throwing it inside to somebody with their back to the goal, the traditional way to score it off the post. So it's been a different type of offense, but our point production is really good. I would like for our three-point shooting percentage to increase, and certainly last night we did cut down on our turnovers. But if this team can average 84 a game or 83 a game or whatever the case may be, if we're really good defensively, which we really have been, our field goal stats around 50. We're holding people to 42. We've been really good. This team, I thought rebounding would have to have a fundamental approach to rebounding. We're out rebounding people by plus 10. So I think as the turnovers decrease, we get more shots at goal. The points are going to be there, and can we defend consistently throughout the course of the year without fouling carelessly or needlessly?
Coach, I got to give you a big thank you, too, because obviously I have not watched the LSU games yet, and I gave you that depth question, and it was way off in its setup, and you didn't even call me out for it. You smoothly transitioned into no, the complete opposite is actually the case. Thank you for that, though. You're very kind. You're also obviously a great basketball mind, and so I want to ask you just a reaction to something that has blown my mind, which is that LeBron James yesterday became the first player in NBA history to have triple-doubles against all 30 NBA teams. What's your reaction when you hear that?
Well, I always respect talent. You know, I always respect talented people regardless of the field they play in. And I will never be critical of LeBron James's talent and his ability to play basketball. Now, some other things about him I'm not a real fan of. You know, sometimes when he steps out of his realm, he thinks he's a politician or whatever the case may be. He's an outstanding basketball player, and to do what he did, triple-double against every team in the NBA is phenomenal. I have a tremendous amount of respect for his talent and his ability to play the game.
Coach, you guys take off to Jamaica this afternoon, which is a great assignment.
Oh, Coach gets to go.
Yeah, great assignment.
Fun in the sun and subs.
Absolutely. Utah State on Friday for the network, and then Sunday versus Rhode Island. What are you looking to learn here about the Tigers on the road trip?
Well, Utah State is a very good basketball team. They're 5-0. They pounded everybody they played against. Now, they haven't played certainly a VCU, a game like that on the road, but they have won by 20-plus in every game they played. They're 5-0. They're ranked in the top 20 in the country. Great test for our team, very well coached. Rhode Island is sneaky good as well. They've had success in the past. And let me say this about our preseason schedule. I was listening to a radio station here in town, and they had a guest on there talking about our preseason schedule. Look, VCU's a very good basketball team. Utah State's a very good team. Rhode Island's very good. Wait till East Tennessee State rolls in here. We play USC on the road in L.A. We play Texas in the Big 12 Challenge. I don't know what you need to do for this team. This team's in a transition period, and I think this schedule for this team transitioning from one offense to another and trying to find itself in the preseason to prepare itself for SEC play, I think the schedule is right on point, and I think Coach Wade's done a good job with it.
Enjoy the sunshine in the Caribbean, sir. Thank you for the time this morning.
All right, guys. Thank you.
There he is, John Brady from the LSU Sports Radio Network. Would You Rather Wednesday next here on OTB.